Hello, YouTube. Today's video is going to be kind of heavy, and I'm dedicating it specifically to Damien Leonhardt, also formerly known as Jesse Slaughter. You may never see this may never reach you, but I just need to get this out here anyway. My name, or I go by Chris Columbine, formerly known as Chris Damnation or Coe Divinity, most likely Chris Damnation. But I used to be a scene kid when it was popular to be a scene kid. And you know, God, just the stupid ass music I would listen to. I had the hair, I had the clothes, I was ridiculous. I looked ridiculous. But, of course, being a scene kid, we, you know, didn't make the best decisions. 'Cause looking back on it, it was all ridiculous. I listened to bands like Falling in Reverse, Escape the Fate, which, you know, Falling in Reverse, we already know that fucking the Ronnie Radke, or whatever the fuck his name is problematic, so we can set that aside. But of course, like any other good scene kid, I listened to Blood on the Dance Floor. And I just listened to their lyrics, and I remember the whole controversy with you. I remember watching your videos. I remember how upset you got. I remember how upset your father got. I remember how big of a mess it made. And I remember Blood on the Dance Floor's response to it. And as young, impressionable teenagers, Blood on the Dance Floor, their fan base was really quick to jump to their defense and make you the bad guy. Make you out to be just some desperate fangirl who wanted attention, just to sweep everything under the rug. I recently watched an interview you did talking about your experience with him and the reality of that. And shit, it was heavy. I have so much respect for you and your bravery to open up about your experience and, talk about how serious this was, how many females were affected by this. And I say females not to be degrading, but like you, for instance, you're non-binary, so I'm just trying to not generalize. But just how many people were affected by him and what he did to them and how he took advantage of them. And you brought it all to light. And there's interview after interview on YouTube of people sharing their experiences with him and how he influenced them and manipulated them and coerced them into doing whatever he wanted. And I especially wanted to see your interview because your case was the most, blown up, and it was swept under the rug. It just made you look like some desperate fangirl who, wanted attention, and, calling you a liar. Because, oh, yeah, what fangirl is just, gonna get close to their favorite celebrity and just become their friend? And, it just sounded ridiculous. But, it was real. It was true. It was your truth. It was, how you felt and what happened to you. And it's just, I am so sorry that you went through that experience. And I will say, once again, as a scene kid, I jumped on that bandwagon because I was young and impressionable, and I didn't know what to think, you know? I just went along with the rest of the crowd, and for that, I apologize. I apologize because I don't victim blame. I don't tell people it's their fault for what happened to them. I just didn't believe you. And that's not your fault at all. That's absolutely not your fault. And just everything that's come into light, you know, hearing you speak about your experiences, you grew up into such a, you know, beautiful and strong person. And I know you're probably getting tired of people telling you you're strong and brave, but it's the truth. You survived something that you should have never gone through. You should have never gone through that at that age. Even if it's your favorite celebrity, it doesn't matter. He took advantage of you. And he took advantage of many others, as you mentioned. And it is extremely upsetting. I mean, recently I found out that my favorite celebrity has done very, very many bad things. Danny Masterson. I love him. I love that 70s show. I love everything he does. I think he's gorgeous. But finding out all these rape allegations and how all of that's come into light, it is so incredibly disappointing to me because you don't want to see your favorite celebrity in that light. But when it gets personal, when that thing happens to you, it could be so confusing because you don't want to see your favorite celebrity as the bad guy, even though you know something bad is happening to you. And this is why I think you are so brave for coming forward and talking about your experiences and how as such a young person you were taken advantage of in that way by someone you idolized, and how unfair that is. And I commend your bravery for being willing to open up about that, and your strength for surviving this long, holding on to that. That must be awful. I couldn't imagine holding on to something like that for so long. But having it all come out in the light and finally being able to be truly honest and have people believe you, I'm sorry that happened to you, but in a way, I am so grateful that all of this has come into the light and people are sharing their stories and, you know, accumulating more evidence to use against him, because what he did was wrong. And he did it to probably, you know, an uncountable amount of people. Because as you mentioned, you knew of 50 personally. And that's only what you knew about. There could have been many more. And it is so upsetting. I cannot even imagine what it felt like to go through what you went through. But I'm proud. We are all proud of how you were able to stand up and talk about it. And I know you've been through a lot. You essentially became a celebrity, but for all the wrong reasons. You were just called a drama queen, an obsessed fangirl, and no one was willing to actually listen to your story. And that is so disappointing, because so many people's abuse stories get swept under the rug because people will say, oh, they're just exaggerating. And that is incredibly unfair. And these things need to be taken more seriously. It doesn't matter if it's your neighbor or a celebrity. If you claim someone has hurt you, they should at least look into it. they should at least try and see if they can gather any evidence, if there's anything there at all. But the system failed you, and the system failed all those other people, and that is incredibly unfair. But finally, you're getting justice. And I am so disappointed that it didn't come so much sooner. So you could have moved on a lot quicker than that. And I know I keep repeating myself, but you are such a strong individual, speaking up for yourself and defending the rest of the people he hurt. So thank you. I idolize you for having the strength to talk about that and to rehash all of your issues that happened when you were younger that you probably just want to move on and forget about. But I idolize you, and I know many other people do, for having that strength and bravery to talk about what happened to you. So, yeah, and once again, I want to apologize for being one of those people who didn't believe you. But I was young and impressionable, and I wanted to believe my idol. And that's unfortunately why this was swept under the rug for so long, and it's unfair to you. And I apologize for my part in that. So I'm just so happy that you were able to finally share your story and have people listen. So thank you, and all of the other people who have been willing to speak out about this. And my heart goes out to all of the people who still can't. So this was my message. If this ever somehow reaches you, that's just what I want you to know. So, I hope that from this point on you can have a joyful life. So thank you. Bye.